Attend. We have heard the thriving of the throne of Denmark, how the folk kings flourished in former days, how those royal aethelings earned that glory. Was it not skilled chiefing that shook the halls, took mead benches, taught encroaching foes to fear him, who, found in childhood, lacked clothing? Yet he lived and prospered, grew in strength and stature under the heavens, until the clans settled in the sea coasts, neighbouring over the whale road. All must obey him and give tribute. He was a good king. A boy child was afterwards born to Scyld, a young child in hall yard, a hope for the people sent them by God. The griefs long endured were not unknown to him, the harshness of years without a lord. Therefore the life-bestowing wielder of glory granted them this blessing. Through the northern lands the name of Beowulf, the son of Scyld, sprang widely. For in youth an atheling should so use his virtue, give with his free hand, while in his father's house, that in old age, when enemies gather, established friends shall stand by him and serve him gladly. It is by glorious action that a man comes by honour in any people. At the hour shaped for him, Scyld departed. The hero crossed into the keeping of his lord. They carried him out to the edge of the sea, his sworn arms fellows, as he had himself desired them, while he wielded his words, warden of the Scyldings, beloved folk-founder, long had he ruled. A boat with ringed neck rode in the haven, icy, out eager, the aethelings' vessel, and there they laid out their lord and master, dealer of wound gold in the waist of the ship, in majesty by the mast. A mound of treasures from far countries was fetched aboard her, and it is said that no boat was ever more bravely fitted out with weapons of the warrior, war accoutrement, swords and body armour. On his breast were set treasures and trappings to travel with him on his far faring into the flood's sway. This hoard was not less great than the gifts he had had from those who at the outset had adventured him overseas, alone, a small child. High overhead they hoisted and fixed a gold signum, gave him to the flood. Let the seas take him, with sour hearts and mourning mood. Men, under heaven's shifting skies, though skilled in counsel, cannot say surely who unshipped that cargo. Then for a long space there lodged in the stronghold Beowulf the Dane, dear king of his people, famed among nations. His father had taken leave of the land, when late was born to him the Lord Hartshorn, lifelong the ruler and war-feared patriarch of the proud Scyldings. He next fathered 4 children that leapt into the world, this leader of armies, Hrothgar and Hrothgar and Halgar the Good, and Ursula, I have heard, who was Ornella's queen, knew the bed's embrace of the battle's skilfing. Then to Hrothgar was granted glory in battle, mastery of the field, so friends and kinsmen gladly obeyed him, and his band increased to a great company. It came into his mind that he would command the construction of a huge mead hall, a house greater than men on earth ever had heard of, and share the gifts God had bestowed on him upon its floor with folk young and old, apart from public land and persons of slaves. Far and wide, as I heard, the work was given out in many a tribe over Middle-earth, the making of the mead hall. And, as men reckon, the day of readiness dawned very soon for this greatest of houses. Heorot, he named it, whose word ruled a wide empire. He made good his boasts, gave out rings, armbands at the banquet. Boldly the hall reared its arched gables, unkindled the torch flame that turned it to ashes. The time was not yet when the blood feud should bring out again sword hatred in sworn kindred. It was with pain that the powerful spirit, dwelling in darkness, endured that time, hearing daily the hall filled with loud amusement. There was the music of harp, the clear song of the poet, perfect in his telling of the remote first making of man's race. He told how, long ago, the Lord formed earth, a plain bright to look on, locked in ocean, exulting established the sun and the moon as lights to illumine the land dwellers, and furnished forth the face of the earth with limbs and leaves. Life he then granted to each of the creature that creeps and moves. So the company of men led a careless life. All was well with them until one began to encompass evil, an enemy from hell. Grendel, they called this cruel spirit. The fell and fen his fastness was, the march his haunt. This unhappy being had long lived in the land of monsters, since the Creator cast them out as kindred of Cain. For that killing of Abel the eternal Lord took vengeance. There was no joy of that feud. Far from mankind, God drove him out for his deed of shame. From Cain came down all kinds misbegotten, ogres and elves and evil shades, as also the giants who joined in long wars with God. He gave them their reward. With the coming of the night came Grendel also, sought the great house, and how the ring Danes held their hall when the horn had gone round. He found in Heorot the force of nobles slept after supper, sorrow forgotten, the condition of men. Maddening with rage, he struck quickly. Creature of evil, grim and greedy, he grasped on their pallets 30 warriors, and away he was out of there. Thrilled with his catch, he carried off homeward his glut of slaughter, sought his own halls. As the day broke, with the dawn's light, Grendel's outrage was openly to be seen. Night's table laughter turned to morning's lamentation. Lord Hrothgar sat silent then. The strong man mourned. Glorious king, he grieved for his thanes, as they read the traces of a terrible foe, a cursed fiend, that was too cruel a feud, too long, too hard. Nor did he let them rest, but the next night brought new horrors, did more murder, manslaughter, and outrage, and shrank not from it. He was too set on these things. It was not remarked then, if a man looked for sleeping quarters quieter, less central, among the outer buildings, now openly shown, the new hall thane's hatred was manifest and unmistakable. Each survivor then kept himself at safer distance, so Grendel became ruler. Against right he fought, one against all. Empty then stood the best of houses, and for no brief space, for 12 long winters, torment sat on the friend of the Scyldings, fierce sorrows and woes of every kind, which was not hidden from the sons of men, but was made known in grieving songs, how Grendel warred long on Hrothgar, the harms he did him, through wretched years of wrong, outrage and persecution. Peace was not in his mind towards any companion of the court of Hrothgar, The feud was not abated, the blood price was unpaid. Nor did any counsellor have cause to look for a bright man price at the murderer's hand. The dark death shadow drove always against them, old and young. Abominable, he watched and waited for them, walked night long the misty moorland. Men know not where hell's familiars fleet on their errands. Again and again the enemy of man, stalking unseen, struck terrible and bitter blows. In the black nights he camped in the hall, under Heorot's gold roof. Yet he could not touch the treasure throne, against the Lord's will, whose love was unknown to him. A great grief was it for the guardians of the Scyldings, crushed to his spirit. The council lords sat there daily to devise some plan, what might be best for brave-hearted Danes to contrive against these terror raids. They prayed aloud, promising sometimes on the altars of their idols unholy sacrifices if the slayer of souls would send relief to the suffering people. Such was their practice, a heathen hope. Hell possessed their hearts and minds. The Maker was unknown to them, the judge of all actions. The Almighty was unheard of. They knew not how to praise the Prince of Heaven, the wielder of glory. Woe to him who must in terrible trial entrust his soul to the embrace of the burning, banished from thought or change or comfort. Cheerful the man able to look to the Lord at his death day, to find peace in the Father's embrace. This season rocked the son of Healfdene, the swinging sorrows, nor could the splendid man put his cares from him. Too cruel the feud, too strong and long-lasting, that struck the people a wicked affliction, the worst of nightmares. This was heard of at his home by one of Higlac's followers. One of Higlac's followers. A good man among the Geats, Grendel's raidings. He was... I'll start that again. This was heard of at his home by one of Higlac's followers, a good man amongst the Geats, Grendel's raidings. He was for main strength of all men foremost that trod the earth at that time of day, build and blood-matched. He bade a seaworthy wave-cutter be fitted out for him. The warrior king he would seek, he said, over swans riding, that lord of great name, needing men. The wiser sought to dissuade him from voyaging, hardly or not at all, though they held him dear. They whetted his quest-thirst, watched omens. The prince had already picked his men from the folk's flower, the fiercest among them that might be found. With 14 men, he sought soundward, seawise. Beowulf led them right down to the land's edge. Time running on, she rode the waves now, hard in by headland. Harnessed warriors stepped on her stem. Setting tide churned sea with sand. Soldiers carried bright mail coats to the mast's foot. War gear, well wrought. Willingly they shoved her out, though braced craft. Willingly they shoved her out, thorough braced craft, on craved voyage. Away she went over a wavy ocean, boat like a bird breaking seas, wind-wetted, white-throated, till the curved prow had ploughed so far, the sun standing right on the second day, that they might see land loom on the skyline, then the shimmer of cliffs, sheer fells behind reaching capes. The crossing was at an end, closed the wake. Where the Geats stood on the strand, stepped briskly up, a rope going ashore, ring-mail clashed battle girdings. God they thanked for the smooth going over the salt trails. The watchman saw them from the wall where he stood, posted by the Scyldings to patrol the cliffs. He saw the polished lindens pass along the gangway and the clean equipment. Curiosity moved him to know who these men might be. Hrothgar's thane, when his horse had picked its way down to the shore, shook his spear fiercely at arm's length, framed the challenge. "Strangers, you have steered this steep craft through the seaways, sought our coast. I see you are warriors. You wear that dress now. I must ask who you are. In all the years I have lived as lookout at Land's End here, so that no foreigners with fleet army might land in Denmark and do us harm, shield carriers have never come ashore more openly. You had no assurance of welcome here, word of leave from Hrothgar and Hrothwulf. I have not in my life set eyes on a man with more might in his frame than this helmed lord. He's no hall fellow dressed in fine armour, or his face belies him. He has the head of the hero. I'll have your names now, and the names of your fathers, or further you shall not go as undeclared spies in the Danish land. Stay where you are, strangers, hear what I have to say. Seas crossed, it is best and simplest straight away to acknowledge where you are from, why you have come." The captain gave him a clear answer. The leader of the troop unlocked his word hoard. "We are here. We here are come from the country of the Geats, and are King Higlac's hearth companions. My noble father was known to Ecgtheow, a front fighter famous amongst nations, who had seen many seasons when he set out last, an old man from the halls. All the wiser men in the world readily remember him. It is with loyal and true intention that we come to seek your lord, the son of Healfdene, guardian of the people. Guide us well, therefore. We have a great errand to the glorious hero, the shepherd of the Danes. The drift of it shall not be kept from you. You must know, if indeed there is truth in what is told in Geatland, that among the Scyldings some enemy, an obscure assailant, in the opaque night times makes spectacles of spoil and slaughter in hideous feud. To Hrothgar I would open-heartedly unfold a plan how the old commander may overcome his foe, if indeed an easing is ever to slacken these besotting sorrows, a settlement when chafing cares shall cool at last. Otherwise he must miserably live out this lamentable time, for as long as Heorot's best of houses bulks to the sky." The mounted coastguard made reply, "Unshrinking officer, a sharp-witted man, clear in his mind, must be skilled to discriminate deeds and words. I accept what I am told, that this troop is loyal to the Scyldings' protector. Pass forward with your weapons and war dress. I am willing to guide you, commanding meanwhile the men under me to guard with care and this I am willing to guide you, commanding meanwhile the men under me to guard with care this craft of yours, this new tarred boat at its berth, and by our strand against every enemy until again it bear its beloved captain over the current sea, curve-necked keel to the coast of the Geat. Such a warrior shall be accorded unscathed passage through the shocks of battle." The vessel was still as they set forward, the deep-chested ship stayed at its mooring, fast at its anchor. Over the cheek pieces boar figures shone, bristling with gold, blazing and fire-hard, fierce guards of their bearers' lives. Briskly the men went marching together, making out at last the ample eaves adorned with gold, to earth's men, the most glorious of houses under heaven, the home of the king. Its radiance lighted the lands of the world. The coastguard showed them the shining palace, the resort of heroes, and how they might rightly come to it. This captain in the wars then brought his horse about and broke silence. Here I must leave you. May the Lord Almighty afford his grace in your undertakings and bring you to safety. Back at the seashore, I resume the watch against sea raiders. There was stone paving on the path that brought the war-band on its way. The war-coat shone, and the links of hard, hand-locked iron sang in their harnesses as they stepped along in their gear of grim aspect, going to the hall. Sea-wearied, they then set against the wall their broad shields of special temper, and bowed to bench, battle-shirts clinking, the war-dress of warriors. The weapons of the seamen stood in the spear-rack, stacked together and ashwood grey-tipped. These iron-shirted men were handsomely armed. A high-mannered chieftain then inquired after the ancestry of the warriors. From whence do you bring these embellished shields, grey mail-shirts, masked helmets, this stack of spears? I am spokesman here, herald to Hrothgar. I have not seen a body of strangers bear themselves more proudly. It is not exile, but adventure, I am thinking, boldness of spirit that brings you to Hrothgar. The gallant Geat gave answer then, valour renowned and vaunting spoke, hard under helmet. At Higlac's table we are sharers in the banquet. Beowulf is my name. I shall gladly set out to the son of Halfdene, most famous of kings, the cause of my journey. Lay it before your lord, if he will allow us kindly to greet in person his most gracious self. Then Wulfgar spoke, the warlike spirit of this Wendel prince. His wisdom and judgment were known to many. The master of the Danes, lord of the Scyldings, shall learn of your request. I shall gladly ask my honoured chief, giver of armbands, about your undertaking, and soon bear the answer back again to you that my gracious lord shall think good to make. He strode rapidly to the seat of Hrothgar, old and grey-haired among the guard of earls, stepped forward briskly, stood before the shoulders of the king of the Danes. A court's ways were known to him. Then Wulfgar addressed his dear master. Men have come here from the country of the Geats, borne from afar over the back of the sea. These battle companions call the man who leads them Beowulf. The boon they ask, my lord, that they may hold converse with you. Do not, kind Hrothgar, refuse them audience in the answer you vouchsafe. Accoutrement would clearly bespeak them of earl's rank. Indeed, the leader who guided them here seems of great account. The guardian of the Scyldings gave his answer. I knew him when he was a child. It was to his old father, Ecgtheow, that Hrethel the Geat gave in marriage his one daughter. Well does the son now pay this call on a proven ally. The seafarers used to say, I remember, who took our gifts to the Geat people in token of friendship, that this fighting man in his hand's grasp had the strength of 30 other men. I am thinking that the holy God, as a grace to us Danes in the west, has directed him here against Grendel's oppression This good man shall be offered treasures in return for his courage. Waste no time now, but tell him to come in, that they may see this company seated together. Make sure to say that they are most welcome to the people of the Danes." Promptly Wulfgar turned to the doors and told his message. "The master of battles bid me announce, the lord of the North Danes, that he knows your ancestry. I am to tell you all, determined venturers over the seas, that you are sure of welcome. You may go in now in your gear of battle. Set eyes on Hrothgar, helmed as you are. But battle shaft and shield of lindenwood may here await your words' outcome." The prince arose. Around him warriors in dense escort, detailed by the chief. A group remained to guard the weapons. The Geats swung in behind their stout loud leader over Herut's floor. The hero led on, hard under helmet, to the hearth, where he stopped. Then Beowulf spoke. Bent by smith's skills, the meshed rings in his mail shirt glittered. "Health to Hrothgar. I am Higlac's kinsman and serve in his fellowship. Fame-winning deeds have come early to my hands. The affair of Grendel has been made known to me on my native turf. The sailors speak of this splendid hall, this most stately building, standing idle and silent of voices, as soon as the evening light has hidden below the heaven's bright edge. Whereupon it was urged by the ablest men among our people, men proved in council, that I should seek you out, most sovereign Hrothgar. These men knew well the weight of my hands. Had they not seen me come home from fights, where I had bound 5 giants, their blood was upon me, cleaned out a nest of them. Had I not crushed on the wave sea serpents by night, in narrow struggle, broken the beasts? The bane of the Geats, they had asked me for their trouble. And shall I not try, in single match, this monster, Grendel, a trial against this troll? To you I now put one request, royal Scylding, shield of the Danes, one sole favour that you'll not deny me, dear lord of your people. Now that I have come thus far, fastness of warriors, that I alone may be allowed, with my loyal and determined crew of companions, to cleanse your hall Heorot. As I am informed, this unlovely one is careless enough to carry no weapon, so that my lord Higelac, my leader in war, may take joy in me. I abjure utterly the bearing of sword and shielding yellow board in this battle. With bare hands shall I grapple with the fiend, fight to the death here, hater and hated. He who is chosen shall deliver himself to the Lord's judgment. If he can contrive it, we may count on Grendel to eat quite fearlessly the flesh of Geats here in this war hall. Has he not chewed on the strength of this nation? There will be no need, sir, for you to bury my head. He will have me gladly if death should take me, though darkened with blood. He will bear my bloody corpse away, bent on eating it, make his meal alone, without misgiving bespatter his moor lair. The disposing of my body need occupy you no further then. But if the fight should take me, you would forward to Higelac this best of battle shirts that my breast now wears. The queen of war coats, it is the bequest of Hrethel, and from the forge of Wayland, fate will take its course. Then Hrothgar spoke, the helmet of the Scyldings. So, it is to fight in our defence, my friend Beowulf, and as an office of kindness that you have come to us here. Great was the feud that your father set off, when his hand struck down Heath Olaf in death among the Weeflings. The Weathergeats did not dare to keep him then for dread of war, and he left them to seek out the South Danish folk, the glorious Scyldings across the shock of waters. I had assumed sway over the Scylding nation, and in my youth ruled this rich kingdom, storehouse of heroes. Hroegar was then dead. The son of Halfdene had hastened from us, my elder brother, a better man than I. I then settled the feud with fitting payment, sent to Whifflings over the water's back, old things of beauty against which I'd the oath of your father. It is a sorrow in spirit for me to say to any man, a grief in my heart, what the hatred of Grendel has brought me to in Heorot, what humiliation, what harrowing pain. My hall companions, my warband, are dwindled. Weird has swept them into the power of Grendel. Yet God could easily check the ravages of this reckless fiend. They often boasted when the beer was drunk, and called out over the ale-cup, my captains in battle, that they would here await in this wassailing place, with deadliness of iron edges, the onset of Grendel, when morning brought the bright daylight. This mead hall was seen all stained with blood. Blood had soaked its shining floor. It was a house of slaughter. More slender grew my strength of dear warriors. Death took them off. Yet sit now to the banquet, where you may soon attend, should the mood so take you, some tale of victory. A bench was then cleared for the company of Geats, there in the beer hall, for the whole band together. The stout-hearted warriors went to their places, bore their strength proudly. Prompt in his office, the man who had held the horn of bright mead poured out its sweetness. The song of the poet again rang in Heorot. The heroes laughed loud in the great gathering of the Geats and the Danes. Then Unferth spoke, the son of Ecglaf, sitting at the feet of the father of the Scyldings, unbound a battle rune. Beowulf's undertaking, the seaman's bold venture, vexed him much. He could not allow that another man should hold under heaven a higher care for wonders of the world than went with his own name. Is this the Beowulf of Brecca's swimming match, who strove against him on the stretched ocean, when for pride the pair of you proved the seas, and for a trite boast entrusted your lives to the deep waters, undissuadable by effort or friend or foe whatsoever from that swimming on the sea? A sorry contest. Your arms embraced the ocean stream, you beat the wave way, wove your hand movements, and danced on the spearmen. The sea boiled with whelming waves of winter. In the water's power you laboured 7 nights, and then you lost your swimming match. His might was the greater. Morning found him cast by the sea on the coast of the battle reams. He made his way back to the marches of the Brondings, to his fatherland, friend to his people, and to the city fastness where he had subjects, treasure, and his own stronghold. The son of Beanstan performed to the letter what he had promised you. I see little hope, then, of a happier outcome, though in other conflicts elsewhere in the world you may have prospered, if you propose awaiting Grendel all night, on his own ground, unarmed. Then spoke Beowulf, son of Ecgtheow. I thank my friend Unferth, who unlocks us this tale of Brecca's bragged exploits. The beer lends eloquence to his tongue. But the truth is, as I've said, I had more sea strength, outstaying Brecca's, and endured under water a much worse struggle. It was in early manhood that we undertook, with public boast, both of us still very young men, to venture our lives on the open ocean, which we accordingly did. Hard in our right hands we held each a sword as we went through the sea, so to keep off the whales from us. If he whitened the ocean, no wider appeared the water between us. He could not away from me, nor would I from him. Thus, stroke for stroke, we stitched the ocean 5 nights and days, drawn apart then by cold storm on the cauldron of waters. Under lowering night the northern wind fell on us in war respite. The waves were rough. The unfriendliness was then aroused of the fishes of the deep. Against sea beasts my body armour, hand-linked and hammered, helped me then. This forge-knit battle shirt, bright with gold, decking my breast. Down to the bottom I was plucked in rage by this reptile fish, pinned in his grip. But I got the chance to thrust once at the ugly creature with my weapon's point. War took off then the mighty monster. Mine was the hand that did it. Then loathsome snouts snickered by me, swarmed at my throat. I served them out with my good sword, gave them what they asked for. Those scaly flesh-eaters sat not down to dine on Beowulf. They browsed not me in that picnic they had designed in the dingles of the sea. Daylight found them dispersed instead, up along the beaches where my blade had laid them soundly asleep. Since then they have never troubled the passage of travellers over that deep waterway. Day in the east grew, God's bright beacon, and the billows sank, so that I then could see the headlands, the windy cliffs. Weird saves oft the man undoomed if he undaunted be. And it was my part then to put to the sword 9 sea monsters in the severest fight by night I have heard under heaven's vault. A man more sorely pressed the seas never held. I came with my life from the compass of my foes, but tired from the struggle. The tide bore me away on its currents to the coasts of Norway, whelms of water. No whisper has yet reached me of sword ambushes survived, nor such scathing perils in connection with your name. Never has Breca, nor you, Unferth, either in open battle play, framed such a deed of daring with your shining swords, small as my action was. You have killed only kindred, kept your blade for those closest in blood. You're a clever man, Unferth, but you'll endure hell's damnation for that. It speaks for itself, my son of Edgelath, that Grendel had never grown such a terror. This demon had never dealt your lord such havoc in Herut, had your heart's intention been so grim for battle as you give us to believe. He's learned there's in fact not the least need excessively to respect the spite of this people, the scathing steel fresh of the Scylding nation. He spares not a single sprig of your Danes in extorting his tribute, but treats himself proud, butchering and dispatching, and expects no resistance from spear-wielding Scyldings. I'll show him Geatish strength and stubbornness shortly enough now, a lesson in war. He who wishes shall go then blithe to the banquet, when the breaking light of another day shall dawn for men, and the sun shine glorious in the southern sky. Great, then, was the hope of the grey-locked Hrothgar warrior, giver of 5 rings. Great was the trust of the shield of the Danes, shepherd of the people, attending to Beowulf's determined resolve. There was laughter of heroes, harp music ran, words were warm-hearted. Wealhtheow moved, mindful of courtesies. The Queen of Hrothgar, glittering to greet the Geats in the hall, peerless lady, But to the land's guardian she offered first the flowing cup, bade him be blithe at the beer drinking, gracious to his people. Gladly the conqueror partook the banquet, tasted the hall cup. The helming princess then passed about among the old and young men in each part of the hall, bringing the treasure cup until the time came when the flashing-armed queen, complete in all virtues, carried out to Beowulf the brimming vessel. She greeted the Geat and gave thanks to the Lord in words wisely chosen, her wish being granted to meet with a man who might be counted on for aid against these troubles. He took the cup, a man violent in war, at Wealhtheow's hand, and framed his utterance, eager for the conflict. Thus spoke Beowulf of Ecgtheow. This was my determination in taking to the ocean, benched in the ship among my band of fellows, that I should once and for all accomplish the wishes of your adopted people, or pass to the slaughter, viced in my foe's grip. This vow I shall accomplish, a deed worthy of an earl, decided otherwise here in this mead hall to meet my ending day. This speech sounded sweet to the lady, the vaunt of the Geat. Glittering she moved to her lord's side, splendid folk queen. Then at last Heorot heard once more words of courage, the carousing of people singing their victories, till the son of Halfdene desired at length to leave the feast, be away to his night's rest, aware of the monster brooding his attack on the tall gabled hall, from the time they had seen the sun's lightness to the time when darkness drowns everything, and under its shadow cover shapes do glide dark beneath the clouds. The company came to its feet. Then did the heroes, Hrothgar and Beowulf, salute each other. Success he wished him, control of the wine hall, and with this word left him. Never, since I took up targe and sword, have I at any instant to any man beside thus handed over Heorot as I here do to you. Have and hold now the house of the Danes. Bend your mind and your body to this task, and wake against the foe. There'll be no want of liberality if you come out alive from this ordeal of courage. Then Hrothgar departed, the protector of the Danes, passed from the hall at the head of his troop. The war leader sought Wealhtheow, his queen, the companion of his bed. Thus did the King of Glory, to oppose this Grendel, appoint a hall guard, so the tale went abroad, who took on a special task at the court, to cope with the monster. The Geat prince placed all his trust in his mighty strength, his maker's favour. He now uncased himself of his coat of mail, unhelmed his head, handed his attendant an embellished sword, best of weapons, and bade him take care of these trappings of war. Beowulf then made a boasting speech, the Geat man, before mounting his bed. I fancy my fighting strength, my performance in combat, at least as greatly as Grendel does his, and therefore I shall not cut his life short with a slashing sword. Too simple a business. He has not the art to answer me in kind, hew at my shield, shrewd though he be at his nasty catches. No, will at night play without any weapons. If unweaponed he dare to face me in the fight, the Father in his wisdom shall apportion the honours then, the all-holy Lord, to which side shall seem to him fit. Then the hero lay down, leant his head, and on the bolster there, about him many brave sea warriors bowed to their hall rest. Not one of them he would thence be departing. I'm going to stop there. I'll start again another time.